The conference chamber aboard the Galactic Council station fell, silent as Ambassador Orla Chen transmitted. The final images from Colony 7. 300 human families gone in an orbital strike that lasted less than 4 minutes. The Vraxan Dominion representatives' mandibles clicked in what passed for their species' version of diplomatic indifference. Collateral damage, the Vraxan envoy stated flatly. Your colony was in disputed space. James Torres, Earth's military liaison, stood slowly from his seat. For 2 years, he'd played the role of the polite soldier, the professional warrior who smiled at aliens who saw humanity as useful, but ultimately expendable. His fingers whitened against the edge of the conference table. Disputed? James's voice was quiet. Too quiet. We had families there, children. We sent you 14 diplomatic requests for negotiation. The Vraxan's translator crackled. Negotiation is for species with leverage. Humans have been adequate members of the galactic community. Know your place. Orla placed a hand on James's shoulder, but her eyes held the same cold fire. She'd lost a sister on Colony 7, a nephew who'd just turned 6. She activated her neural link, connecting directly to Earth's high command. Ambassador Chen, the council arbiter, a floating Luminaean entity, pulsed with calming blue light. The Galactic Council recognizes this tragedy, but military retaliation would violate. We're withdrawing from the council, Orla interrupted. Her voice carried none of its usual diplomatic warmth. Effective immediately, the chamber erupted. 17 species began shouting in their various languages and frequency ranges. Humanity had been the Council's fastest-growing economy, their most innovative engineers, their most eager students of galactic culture. The Council needed humanity more than they'd ever admitted. You cannot survive alone, the Vraxan envoy said. Your fleet is minimal. Your territorial holdings are scattered. Without Council protection, we don't need protection, James said, his smile sharp enough to cut steel. We need you to stay out of our way. The Vraxan Dominion learned what that meant 48 hours later. Their military doctrine, perfected over 3,000 years, relied on overwhelming force and technological superiority. They'd conquered 17 species using the same strategy. Identify the enemy's primary military assets, destroy them with long-range weapons, then occupy the demoralized survivors. They expected humans to mass their fleet for a counterattack. Instead, Earth went quiet. Every human ship vanished from tracking sensors. Every colony went dark. The galactic communication networks that humans had helped build suddenly carried no human traffic. They're retreating to their home system, the Vraxan war leader declared. Pursuing. The Vraxan fleet entered the Sol system with 400 warships, enough firepower to glass a dozen worlds. They found Earth's orbital defense platforms abandoned, its moon bases evacuated. Earth itself sat silent and apparently defenseless. It was the most sophisticated trap in human military history. The defense platforms weren't abandoned. They were automated and running, under complete electronic silence. The moon bases weren't evacuated. They were staffed by volunteers who'd painted for Colony 7 on every missile tube. And Earth's fleet hadn't retreated. It had scattered into the asteroid belt. Every ship wrapped in stealth technology that humanity had been quietly perfecting while playing the role of eager, harmless newcomers. When the Vraxan fleet reached Earth orbit, James gave the order from his command ship hidden among Saturn's rings. Humanity stopped fighting like the galactic community expected. They stopped following the civilized rules of engagement that limited casualties and preserved infrastructure. They fought like humans had always fought when pushed to the edge, with creativity born from desperation, with tactics that made no sense until they worked, with a complete disregard for what was supposed to be possible. The asteroid belt became a minefield. Rocks that had floated peacefully for billions of years suddenly had engines strapped to them, targeting computers, and enough kinetic energy to punch through shields designed to stop energy weapons. The Vraxan had never seen kinetic bombardment on that scale. It was considered too primitive, too unpredictable. It was devastatingly effective. The moon bases fired salvos of missiles that didn't carry warheads. They carried packages of millions of ball bearings, each one a tiny piece of shrapnel moving at orbital velocity. Ancient human warfare brought to space with physics that cared nothing for technological advancement. And the human fleet, when it finally revealed itself, fought like nothing the Vraxan had encountered. Ships broke formation not out of panic but by design, each vessel acting independently, unpredictably. Human pilots pulled maneuvers that should have liquefied their crews, protected only by experimental inertial dampeners that humanity had supposedly been decades away from perfecting. They rammed ships when ammunition ran low. They used debris fields as weapons. They hacked Vraxan communications and played the sounds from Colony 7, children's screams, mothers' final words, on every frequency their enemy used. The Battle of Sol lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Vraxan Dominion had lost 70% of their fleet. The survivors retreated in disarray, pursued by human ships that stopped only at the Dominion's borders. Orla stood beside James in the command center, watching the tactical display update. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from the weight of what they'd unleashed. "The Council is demanding we return," she said quietly. "They're calling us war criminals, saying we fought without honor." James pulled up the memorial file for Colony 7, 300 faces, 300 futures erased because humanity had been too civilized, too eager to fit into someone else's rules. "Honor," he said, his voice hollow, "is a luxury you earn by surviving. We tried their way. We smiled and negotiated while they decided we were expendable." He turned to face her. "We're done being what they expect us to be." "So what are we now?" Orla asked. James looked at Earth, that small blue world that had spawned a species too stubborn to die, too creative to defeat, too human to fit neatly into anyone else's galaxy. "Now?" He allowed himself a grim smile. "Now we're the ones other species learn to fear." The message went out across all galactic channels in every known language on every frequency. Humanity remembers. Humanity adapts. And humanity will never again mistake civilization for weakness. The galaxy would learn. Some species already had.